Some attractions are hidden gems, some are loud and proud, and others just need to stay hidden. Welcome to BearFACTs, where we explore the Smoky Mountains one bear fact at a time. Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be diving into a special category of Smoky Mountain attractions that, well, people often argue about, and sometimes they secretly love or just quietly regret ever paying for. These are those corny rides, the ones you walk by and you say, well, literally looks kind of cool from the outside, but is it really? Is it worth that cost? Depending on your sense of humor, your patience, and how tightly you grip your wallet, these attractions might be the highlight of your day or the story you tell later while laughing about how you got tricked into one of the worst experiences ever, especially if they used fake mannequins standing outside their awesome facade to draw people in. Yeah, some of these places actually do that. And I'm not going to give you a rating or tell you how awesome or awful these rides are because honestly, the title says it all. These are the cheesy rides that tourists come to and they want to experience something that's awful and they have something to complain about, I guess. I don't know. Either way, these are truly cheesy rides and yet they're still around. So there's a reason for it. There's got to be a reason, right? This ride is still here. So I'm just going to kind of give you what you get to experience if you went on one of these rides. And I'm going to try to be honest about it as much as possible. I'm going to be sarcastic too. I'm sorry. It's hard to have the word cheesy in the title without being, some sarcasm and some humor because that's what they're for. They're there to amuse you. So let's get going. We're going to head into Pigeon Forge first. The first ride we're going to talk about is called the Jurassic Jungle Boat Ride. Yeah, very long name. They love doing long names here in the Smoky Mountains. I don't know why. But anyway, this place actually is right on the parkway and it has a really great facade. And when you're driving by, you see this place. It's very impressive when you're driving by. And yeah, this is one of those places that literally puts mannequins in front to make you think that there are tourists and people that are looking at it. So this place is the definition of a tourist trap. Now, even though this isn't one of the most expensive rides, it will end up costing you a little over $20. And you can usually find discounts if you look hard enough for any one of these attractions. I would really seriously look for a discount before trying to pay for this ride because, yeah, I don't know if $20 is worth it for most people though. But anyway, if you do decide to do it, here's what you'll do. You're going to go up and there's a single attendant there. I think that's the only staff member on staff. The entire place is this one person. But they will take your money happily. Credit cards, doesn't matter what you're going to do. And then they're going to load you up on one of these very slow moving boats. And you're going to drift through some dark scenes filled with dinosaurs, jungle sets, and lots of dark rooms that hide all the stuff that you can't see. The dinosaurs have been long extinct, and I'm not talking about the original dinosaurs, I mean the animatronics. But their bones still rattle, and once in a while you'll see one of its mouths opening and gurgling out a roar that might not match with the mouth moving. And in the grand finale of the ride, this is where I thought the actual ride had broken down at first because they put you in this last room and close the door behind you and then nothing. I swear I was sitting there for 2 minutes waiting for something to happen. And then finally above you, the head of, I think it was a giant snake, wiggles its head back and forth and roars, and that's it. I mean, that was the grand finale. So I still don't know whether or not that first time I did the ride, yes, of course, I'd done the ride more than once. I had to do my research. Anyway, yeah, so I wasn't sure if the ride had actually broken or not. Either way, it's unintentionally probably the most funny detail of the entire ride. And the pace is glacial. I mean, the animatronics are old school and the whole experience feels like it's one stuck gear away from becoming a very slow and very polite hostage situation. And you actually paid to be part of that, But you know what, like I said, don't discount the ride. For young kids, it can still be fun and just spooky enough to feel like an adventure. And for adults, it lands somewhere between hilarious, confusing, and slightly unsettling. I mean, mostly because you're never entirely sure if the ride is operating as it should be or if it was broken and you're just like, I don't know, should I get off the boat at some point because this seems wrong. It's not fast, it's not thrilling, but it is completely and utterly unforgettable in that unique Smoky Mountain roadside attraction way. And there's no doubt that in its heyday, it was a top-of-the-line attraction. But today, this 1990s, early 2000s ride is definitely a part of a bygone era. Now, if after watching the footage from the last cheesy ride was like, oh, you can't beat that, how can anything be even more cheesy? Well, I think this place has got to be. Head on over to Gatlinburg on the Parkway. There is a ride called the Earthquake Ride. And this ride actually manages to feel even more like a time capsule. It's that dated. And when you go into this attraction, the main idea is to replicate the feeling of what it would be like to be in an earthquake underground. So they set the scene. You go in and you're getting on a subway. Now, the first thing I notice is that you're getting into a dark subway. If any of you have ever been on a real subway before, you know if a subway's dark, you do not get on it because you don't know what's in there. But you know what? It's a ride, so we're going to get on a dark subway. The train takes off, and then the first thing you do is you almost get run over by another train. And then all of a sudden, the earthquake starts happening. Now, I know the reason that you walked into a black subway station was to hide all the props that now they're going to illuminate as the story goes along. Now, there's no doubt in my mind they knew this is supposed to be a corny tourist trap ride. They are not trying to hide the fact because the props and the images that they're using are totally silly and goofy. Like, here's some rats that are all of a sudden climbing down the walls or at you on strings. I'm pretty sure I could see the strings once I reviewed the video again. At one point, they light up some guy that's sleeping on a bench, and I'm like, I wasn't sure if he was a homeless guy because, man, he did not look like he's in good condition anymore. And he slept through an earthquake, so maybe he was drunk. Who knows? Anyway, and then there's this gorilla, like this random gorilla that's sitting on the side of a subway in a crate, and the crate breaks open, and he just sits there and roars, and that's it. That's all he does. A random detail, which I didn't once again notice until I watched my video again, was there's this container of acid on the side of the subway. Now, I think if you've been to New York City, you might not question any of these things. Yeah, I could see a random thing of acid sitting on the subway, or a homeless person that's sleeping on the bench, or a gorilla trying to break free of a wooden crate. Yeah, but you know, in a real normal situation, you don't see any of this stuff. So it's clear this is about humor. They're trying to entertain. I definitely wouldn't open up your soda can, though, for a little while because you do get shook up quite a lot. Now, overall, this ride is great for a good laugh. It's about $15 a person. Once again, look for discounts online. And it's the kind of ride that people might describe as probably one of the worst experiences you've ever had, but you'd be smiling the entire time because deep down, that was the point. And it's not here to impress you. It's here to remind you of a simpler time when shaking the room counted as a special effect and no one questioned it too much. Before we leave Gatlinburg, I do want to point out a small attraction. It's called Ripley's Mirror Maze. So you're going to walk into a world of reflections, lights, and illusions where every step you walk into is like a small puzzle. It's a walking maze. That's what it is. It's a mirror maze. And it's actually pretty entertaining, I thought. As you blunder around, you bump into the walls, you crash into other people, you walk as if you're going to walk into a wall and you're walking into an empty space. It's really kind of fun. And it's family orientated. I mean, you can just go in, have a little fun, or it can be for older people too. I mean, me and my husband went and we both had fun. It was one of those things we just remembered. It wasn't that bad. The only downside to it is a very short experience, however long it takes you to walk through the maze. And for the price, that could seem offsetting. However, if you end up getting one of those Ripley's bundle packages, this would be included in it. And that way you would get the Ripley's museums, you'd get the aquarium and some of their golf cart courses. There's a lot of things in that bundle. And this could fit in there as being a little side fun gig. Honestly, I liked it, but I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't already had the Ripley's bundle. Now, not all cheesy rides are from the 1990s or early 2000s in the area. There's actually a fairly new one down in Sevierville that is actually pretty modern in their use of technology. It's in the Tangers Plaza, and it's called the Experia Experience. And this isn't a ride in the traditional sense at all, but rather a digital walkthrough attraction that will actually change themes over time. I think in a couple months they're going to be changing it to something else. When we visited, it was focused on the undersea adventures, and there is a person that walks you through different rooms with massive digital displays that feature whales and dolphins, squids, seals, and other oceanic life. Some of the rooms allow you to actually interact with the visuals, making it more hands-on than you would expect. It is very educational, colorful, and clearly designed with kids in mind. And while it is an interesting thing from the technology standpoint, most adults will probably find themselves politely impressed rather than truly entertained. It's a nice break from the noise of the parkway, but it definitely feels more like a modern museum exhibit than a must-see attraction. Many guests rate it is overpriced, but once again, if you go online, there are discounts. And like I said, in a few months, they're changing the theme. It will no longer be ocean. It's going to be something else. And like I said, it's definitely for younger kids, I felt anyway. I think it's something that if they work on, they can really do some really awesome things with. But like I said, they need to try to work through some of their kinks at this point. All right, now we're going to go over to the island, and we're going to take a look at two big attractions there. Now, anytime I talk about the island, anticipate it to be expensive. That's just how it goes there. Most of the rides there are expensive. And the first one I'm going to talk about is no different. It's called the SkyFly Soaring ride, and it's in the island in Pigeon Forge. And it actually does feel like it belongs in an entirely different category than any of the other rides I've pointed out. This was a $1 million ride to create. It was very, very expensive, so it's not cheesy or cheaply done. They put money into this thing. And it is a modern flying theater attraction that lifts you on motion seats and takes you soaring over famous national parks and other landscapes across America. And it has a lot of effects, like they have the wind and the motion, music, and of course the sweeping visuals. It's a very polished, immersive experience that feels closer to something you'd expect in a major theme park. And in fact, this ride is in one of the major theme parks in Disney, in Epcot, and then also they have the same ride, or the designers of this ride is also in the Disneyland park as well. So this is not a cheap ride, and you will be paying for it. Usually your tickets cost about $25, and that's before tax and everything like that. And it is a very smooth, family-friendly, and surprisingly impressive. But it is a short ride where you're spending $25 for probably about 10 minutes, I believe. They did expand some of the scenes very recently, and I think that kind of gave it a little bit more value for its money. Now, I've already done a video on this whole experience, so if you want a little bit more about it, I will leave at the very end of the video link for that video, and you can watch it fully. Another thing I do want to point out is that this is also one of those rides that literally anyone in the family can enjoy. They have a side room where if you want to just watch the experience and not be on the motion simulated ride, you can do that. So it is a completely family friendly and accessible to just about anyone. All right, this last cheesy ride we'll talk about is one of the loudest and tallest, as it towers over the island itself, and it's impossible to ignore. We're talking about the Smoky Mountain Wheel. This attraction is a reminder that sometimes the classics are the best experience. And you will enjoy this one if you enjoy heights and if you enjoy the idea of being able to be above the cloud feeling. So this is a massive observation wheel that slowly lifts you high above Pigeon Forge, and it rotates you around twice once you're on it. So you will have two full rotations. It averages, I believe I read online, it says 200 feet in the air, which is pretty high. And it gives you wide open views of the town and the surrounding mountains. During the day, it's scenic and peaceful. At night, it turns into a glowing centerpiece of lights and color. It's really good for families, great for photos, and it's awesome for anyone who wants a calm moment to take in the area from above. Of course, though, if you're afraid of heights, this might not be as peaceful as you would think because, yeah, you're high and you're feeling it. It can be really intimidating for those of you who do not enjoy heights. So stay away if you're not one of those people. Now, the cost is surprisingly low, at least I thought so, for such an impressive and important part of the island in Pigeon Forge, and it was like $17 a person. Kids are usually cheaper. It gives you real value for your money, I think anyway. Not only will you experience the Smoky Mountains from a view that will take your breath away, but the cabins are climate controlled, out of the rain, and can seat your entire family. I admit, it's a good ride overall. So, what's the verdict on the Smoky Mountains Corny rides? Some of these attractions are absolute hidden gems. Some are so loud and proud it's impossible to ignore them. And some really do feel like they should stay hidden. But honestly, that's part of what makes the Smokies so much fun. Not every experience needs to be perfect. Sometimes the stories you tell later come from rides that made you laugh, cringe, and stare in disbelief that you had just spent that much money on that ride. I hope this video helps you plan your visit to the Smoky Mountains. You're getting an honest review from our personal experiences, but facts and things change and attractions do eventually close. So please keep us in the loop if you learn anything new and want to share your experiences in the comments. Thanks again for visiting us at BearFACTs of the Smokies. Please click that like button and subscribe to our channel.